Meanwhile, in other parts, like deeds deserved memorial, where the might of Gabriel fought, and with fierce ensigns pierced the deep array of Moloch, furious king, who him defied, and at his chariot wheels to drag him bound threatened, nor from the Holy One of Heaven refrained his tongue blasphemous. But anon down cloven to the waist with shattered arms, and uncouth pain fled bellowing. On each wing, Uriel and Raphael, his vaunting foe, though huge and in a rock of diamond armed, vanquished Adramelech and Asmodai, two potent thrones that to be less than gods disdained, but meaner thoughts learned in their flight, mangled with ghastly wounds through plate and mail. Nor stood unmindful Abdiel to annoy the atheist crew, but with redoubled blow Ariel and Arioch and the violence of Ramiel scorched and blasted overthrew. I might relate of thousands and their names eternize here on earth, but those elect angels, contented with their fame in heaven, seek not the praise of men. The other sort, in might though wondrous, and in acts of war, nor of renown less eager, yet by doom cancelled from heaven, and sacred memory nameless in dark oblivion let them dwell. For strength from truth divided, and from just illaudable, not merits but dispraise and ignominy, yet to glory aspires, vainglorious, and through infamy seeks fame, therefore eternal silence be their doom. And now their mightiest quelled, the battle swerved, with many an inroad gored, deformed rout entered and foul disorder, all the ground with shivered armor strown, and on a heap chariot and charioteer lay overturned, and fiery foaming steeds what stood recoiled or wearied, through the faint satanic host defensive scarce, or with pale fear surprised, then first with fear surprised and sense of pain fled ignominious to such evil brought by sin of disobedience. Till that hour not liable to fear or flight or pain, far otherwise the inviolable saints in cubic phalanx, firm advanced entire, invulnerable, impenetrably armed. Such high advantages their innocence gave them above their foes, not to have sinned, not to have disobeyed. In fight they stood unwearied, unobnoxious, to be pained by wound, though from their place by violence moved. Now night her course began, and over heaven inducing darkness grateful truce imposed, and silence on the odious din of war. Under her cloudy covert both retired, victor and vanquished on the foughten field. Michael and his angels prevalent, encamping placed in guard their watches round, cherubic waving fires. On the other part Satan with his rebellious disappeared, far in the dark dislodged and void of rest, his potentates to council called by night, and in the midst thus undismayed began. O now in danger tried, now known in arms, not to be overpowered, companions dear, found worthy not of liberty alone, too mean pretense, but what we more affect, honor, dominion, glory, and renown, who have sustained one day in doubtful fight, and if one day, why not eternal days? What heaven's Lord had powerfulest to send against us from about his throne, and judge sufficient to subdue us to his will? But proves not so. Then fallible, it seems, of future we may deem him, though till now omniscient thought. True is, less firmly armed, some disadvantage we endured, and pain, till now not known, but known as soon contemned. Since now we find this our imperial form, incapable of mortal injury, imperishable, and though pierced with wound soon closing, and by native vigor healed, of evil then so small as easy think the remedy. Perhaps more valid arms, weapons more violent, than next we meet, may serve to better us, and worse our foes. Or equal what between us made the odds, in nature none, if other hidden cause left them superior, while we can preserve, unhurt our minds, and understanding sound, due search and consultation will disclose. He sat, and in the assembly next upstood Nisroch, of principalities the prime. As one he stood, escaped from cruel fight, sore toiled, his riven arms to havoc hewn, and cloudy in aspect, thus answering spake. Deliverer from new lords, leader to free enjoyment of our right as gods, yet hard for gods, and too unequal work we find against unequal arms, to fight in pain, against unpained, impassive, from which evil ruin must needs ensue. For what avails valor or strength, though matchless, quelled with pain, which all subdues, and makes remiss the hands of mightiest. Sense of pleasure we may well spare out of life perhaps, and not repine, but live content, which is the calmest life. But pain is perfect misery, the worst of evils, and excessive overturns all patience. He who therefore can invent with what more forcible we may offend our yet unwounded enemies, or arm ourselves with like defense, to me deserves no less than for deliverance what we owe. Whereto with look composed Satan replied, Not uninvented that, which thou aright believest so to main to our success, I bring. Which of us who beholds the bright surface of this ethereous mold, whereon we stand, this continent of spacious heaven adorned with plant, fruit, flower, ambrosial, gems, and gold, whose eye so superficially surveys these things, as not to mind from whence they grow, deep underground, materials dark and crude, of spirituous and fiery spume, till touched with heaven's ray, and tempered they shoot forth so beauteous, opening to the ambient light. These in their dark nativity the deep shall yield us pregnant with infernal flame, which into hollow engines long and round, thick rammed, and at the other bore with touch of fire, dilated and infuriate, shall send forth from far with thundering noise among our foes such implements of mischief as shall dash to pieces and o'erwhelm whatever stands adverse, that they shall fear we have disarmed the thunderer of his only dreaded bolt. Nor long shall be our labor, yet ere dawn effect shall end our wish. Meanwhile revive, abandon fear, to strength and counsel joined. Think nothing hard, much less to be despaired. He ended, and his words their drooping cheer enlightened, and their languished hope revived. The invention all admired, and each how he to be the inventor missed, so easy it seemed, once found, which yet unfound most would have thought impossible. Yet haply of thy race, in future days, if malice should abound, some one intent on mischief, or inspired with devilish machination, might devise like instrument to plague the sons of men. For sin on war and mutual slaughter bent. Forthwith from council to the work they flew, none arguing stood, innumerable hands were ready. In a moment up they turned, wide the celestial soil, and saw beneath the originals of nature, in their crude conception, sulphurous and nitrous foam, they found, they mingled, and with subtle art concocted and adusted, they reduced to blackest grain, and into store conveyed, part hidden veins digged up, nor have this earth entrails unlike of mineral and stone, whereof to found their engines and their balls of massive ruin. Part incentive reed, provide pernicious with one touch to fire, so all ere day sprang under conscious night, secret they finished, and in order set, with silent circumspection unespied. Now when fair morn, orient in heaven appeared, uprose the victor angels, and to arms the baton trumpet sung. In arms they stood, of golden panoply, refulgent host, soon banded. Others from the dawning hills looked round, and scouts each coast light-armed scour, each quarter to descry the distant foe, where lodged or whither fled, or if for fight in motion or in alt, him soon they met, under spread ensigns moving nigh, in slow but firm battalion, back with speediest sail. Zophiel, of cherubim the swiftest wing, came flying, and in mid-air aloud thus cried.